Meanwhile, as the world continues to feel the pinch of elevated energy prices, South Korea's state-owned energy company has won a contract to build the first nuclear power station in Egypt. Sherry Kang joining us live now with the full story. Hi, Sherry.
Hi there, Dan. And of course, a renewed interest in nuclear energy is the backdrop, as you pointed out, because of the fossil fuel energy getting expensive. And this is what South Korea's new government, relatively speaking, new government wanted to do. And this does mark a major turnaround when it comes to that pivot back to nuclear energy. And remember, the previous administration has been wanting to really phase it out, citing the safety issue. But some of the smaller companies in South Korea on the back of this announcement did see a strong pop earlier on this morning, and you see a remainder of that. So the details of the deal: Russia's ASE subcontracted to South Korea when it comes to this deal worth around $2.25 billion to a state-run South Korea's state-run power generation company called Korea Hydro and Nuclear Power. And they're set to provide materials as well as construct turbine buildings in this nuclear power plant project in Egypt. And quite interesting how this is the very first nuclear power plant project in Egypt, and 85% of that is actually financed by Russia. Dan?
Yeah, fascinating. And Sherry, Egypt's home to more than 100 million people. We know energy needs across North Africa are really growing, and the government in Egypt has been investing in renewables and tapping into gas reserves. So nuclear really is another way to diversify the energy mix. But it's not the why, it's the how. What did the Americans think about their ally, South Korea, working with the Russians on this project? And could it fall foul of sanctions in any way?
That's right, because this deal is not directly coming from the Egyptian government to South Korea as a state-run company. It's via a Russian project. And of course, there has been an explanation from the South Korean government. Not a lot of details, by the way, but they did say that they started the negotiation in December last year, so before the Russia's war in Ukraine. And they admitted that they experienced a lot of difficulties in terms of dealing with those variables, such as the war in Ukraine, as well as the sanctions on Russia that followed as well. But to get this, the South Korean government did say that they communicated this to Washington with an advanced briefing on the deal. And if you take a look at the Washington Post piece, there is an expert who is watching this industry very closely and saying that this deal wouldn't have been possible without Washington's approval, because some of the components that this South Korean company will use does include a U.S. technology as well. So that's something that is coming from the South Korean side. But of course, what else is coming from Seoul is that they're basically sticking to this stance that this deal doesn't clash with the international sanctions on Russia. Not a lot of, again, grounds to explain it provided by the South Korean government, but there has been some kind of backdoor understanding or, clarifying of each other's stances between Washington and Seoul. So that is what's fascinating about this deal as well. Dan?